الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. We express our praise and gratitude to Allah Ta'ala, and we seek blessings on the Prophet, peace be upon him. So we are on ayah 107, 108, those go together, and then 109, the topic changes. So just to recap a little bit of 107, 108, they're completing the point about abrogation. Abrogation was contended, was a point of contention by the people of Medina against the Prophet, peace be upon him. And 106, which we discussed extensively, how many layers of abrogation do we have? 4 layers or 5 layers? 3. 3, yeah, okay. And then 3. So one was the Quran, the Prophet, peace be upon him, in relationship to previous revelations. And then we had a complex discussion about the Quran in terms of the Quran in terms of recitation and law. And then level 3 was what Allah Ta'ala gives you in your life. And then completing that point is 107, 108. أَلَمْ تَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. أَلَمْ تَعْلَمْ, do you not know, أَنَّ اللَّهَ, that Allah, lahu, for him, mulku samawati wal ard, is the kingdom, the sovereignty, the ownership of the skies and the earth. Right? And so what is the point here? That the essence of our relationship with him is surrender. Right? And how does that apply here? That we are saying he owns all, and he's the one who makes all the rules. Thus, he has freedom to abrogate or not abrogate. Right? And thus, our aspiration is to reach the point of complete surrender and to surrender even our trust to him. وَمَا لَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ مِّن وَلِيٍّ وَلَا نَصِيرٍ. So there is no one for you other than Allah among walis and nasir. And so what is wali? Wali would be your intimate friend, your intimate protector. And then nasir would be the one who brings you help when you need it. And the form, have you guys done this? The form of wali and nasir? Kareem, the fa'il, ismu fa'il form?
No.
Okay. This is essentially wali, nasir is the same form as Kareem, Nabil, Hamid, that E, which means essentially eternal. That you have no one other except for God who is your eternal friend and your eternal helper. And then further completing the point, hammering it in. Okay, am turiduna an tas'alu rasulakum. Okay, am turiduna, or do you question an tas'alu, or do you wish to question rasulakum, your messenger, kama su'ila Musa, the way Moses, peace be upon him, was questioned min qabl, in the past. Meaning, again, what is the first step in my relationship with the Prophet? What is the first step in my relationship with revelation? And then above all that, what is the first step in my relationship with God? I want to aspire to the level of acceptance of what he's saying, what he's telling me to do. And then I can go into explanation, trying to make sense. See what I'm saying? If I'm going through the process of looking for a system of beliefs, then naturally I want to look for what makes sense to me, what fits me. But once I'm in the system of beliefs, then what am I struggling for? What am I striving for? This demeanor of complete submission. Where he says do, and then we do. So he says jump, and we jump. But that requires to develop trust that he is our intimate friend, and that requires trust that he will always help us when we need help. So thus, the questioning here of the Prophet.
Which specific incident are they referring to here? Because, I mean, we talked about those 3 levels of abrogation at 3 different times, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's what we said 3 different times, but overall.
Overall?
Yeah.
But with respect to the group that's being spoken to in ayah 108 in particular, is it which group? I mean, because there was that whole time when, you know, the angel Gabriel came, we talked about that he may come just right at the same time when the Quranic ayahs or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So is it reference to those people or?
So this is going back to the people who kept questioning Moses, peace be upon him, first, right? In those stories that we've already covered,
Yeah.
right? Like for example, when they're being told to slaughter the cow, they should have just slaughtered.
So he's going back to
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The criticism about abrogation, however, was at the lifetime of the prophet, peace be upon him.
Right.
Like, we're going to see this when we get about halfway into the surah. We'll be revisiting this point. The idea being that, all right, they shifted their direction of prayer.
I think that was me. Sorry.
Oh man,
I think it's the. Yeah.
I get a pitch. Keep me with the Kardashians. Okay, so I was I should make jokes because now I lost my train of thought. Okay, so that's what I'm wondering. So the criticism at the time of the prophet peace be upon him was when they shifted their direction of prayer.
Yeah. Right.
And then the question was, what happens to all of our previous prayers? Were we praying the wrong way? And meanwhile, people are watching, saying, well, what is God changing his mind?
But when that's being discussed, like, it's specifically talking about that, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But then that comes later, I think.
But these ayahs are also in reference to those criticisms.
Those criticisms, okay.
Okay. So when we're speaking about questioning the prophet here, peace be upon him, we're not speaking about asking for more detail, right? We're speaking about challenging. And that explanation comes in the next passage in the same surah. Whoever exchanges kufr with belief, meaning whoever exchanges, in our language, whoever gives up belief in exchange for kufr, has gone astray from the right way. So the point being that part of my submission to God, part of my challenge is to reach this level of trust in the prophet, peace be upon him, as the messenger of God, that whatever he tells me to do is truth. Okay, so all of that was speaking about this issue of abrogation, the idea being that time is moving forward and then the instructions change. Now, we said, what is the big thing to take from the idea of abrogation for us, especially in that conversation, the complex conversation we had about that which is recited and that which is law, is that the focus is transformation, right? That the focus is not merely, okay, here's a list of things that you fulfill, now fulfill them. The focus is that you transform yourself. That the person you are today, looking at the person you will be, inshallah, God willing, from a year from now, that person will hopefully be, to some degree, a different person. And in a different class, I was raising the question, what should be the result of someone who fulfills their 5 pillars? I'm saying in this world. How would you answer that question? Like if I'm someone who's fulfilling my 5 pillars, making my daily prayers, doing my zakat, doing the pilgrimage, what should be a consequence in this world of that?
Peace in your heart.
Any other thoughts? Done?
For this world?
In this world.
I think it's also, when you do that, it's a protection for yourself from badness from the dunya.
Like, can you be more
Falling from the
specific
dunya
about
being,
badness?
Badness?
Yeah.
I think that you can be caught up in the dunya, and when you pray 5 times a day, when you're fulfilling these things, then the occupation of your mind, the backdrop of your mind is having that central point be the akhirah.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Obedience.
Explain further.
Basically, that as long the more you do things that fall in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command, the more you will be motivated to do things that fall in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's. In other words, it's just your heart will be directed in the direction towards obedience.
Okay. Anything else?
Isn't it like, just because you do the 5 pillars, like, doesn't mean you're guaranteed, like, the best, like, this, whatever is of this life, you know? So, I mean, there's that, but then also you should always have more hope than fear, right, for this world.
Yeah.
That too.
Seems we're coming around.
Sorry?
You know,
You should go to the camera yourself now.
yeah. Right.
Probably.
Refraining, easier refraining from sin.
Yeah, that was our answer.
I stole your answer. Ah!
So putting all these together, to put them actually in order, if I am fulfilling my 5 pillars, a consequence of that should be a decrease in the sins that I'm committing, right?
I.e. protection from badness.
Once again, putting it all in order. So so if I am fulfilling the 5 pillars, then a consequence of that should be a decrease in sins, right? Which should then result in an increase in contentment and happiness, right? And that should then become a perpetuating cycle of increase in obedience. See what we're saying? So essentially what we're saying is that the process to start is to work on fulfilling the 5 pillars, right? And part of obedience is to try to remove sins. For some people, it is easier to work on removing sins. For others, it's easier to work on the 5 pillars. But the point is that when you start this ball rolling, it potentially, inshallah, becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. Okay. And so the result of that in the long term should be transformation. So the same question I ask over and over again is compare yourself today with a year ago. Are you qualitatively the same person that you were a year ago? And if, however much the answer is yes to that question, it means that more than likely that's how much of the same person you will be a year from now, right? And then 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, etc., etc. Okay, having said that, we're going to be starting another topic, which I don't think we've started yet. And this is, so again, the overall topic we're looking at is causes and manifestations of rejection. Okay? And now, one of the big causes of rejection is tribalism, which is what we're about to get into in I-109. But first, I think we should probably take a break and do the pray.
Do the pray.
Especially considering I-110
Right.
10 is telling us to do the pray.
Do the namaz.
So, آخر دعوانا.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.